from the industry through the community right into your home. It's the Green Room, and we're on. What's going on, everybody? It's Lester from Cannabis Wiki. We are here with the 2019 Cannabis Social Influencer of the Year, our North American Cannabis Flower, Jackie Childs.
Hey guys, what up? Welcome to the Green Room.
Yep. And without a doubt, not to be left out, let's give a shout out to Budsy Childs.
Little Budsy's in the house having a nap.
What's going on? So, today, another special guest.
Yeah, we have a good one today. We have this handsome dude, Handsome Dude.
Oh.
Mike Hart.
I'm sure a lot of the ladies are calling him Dr. Handsome Dude.
Perfect name, though. Hart is his last name. So, I don't know.
It's fitting.
Yeah.
I'm glad to get a doctor in the house.
And I know you like all the doctor thing. You're excited. He was on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that the podcast everyone aspires to be?
It means that you're something.
I'm more aspiring to be like Martha Stewart.
Oh, damn. Then I'm
she have a
Snoop,
podcast?
boy. I'm
Yeah.
Snoop.
Oh,
All right.
God.
I'm in. So, guys, we've changed our format. You want to get your shows on Cannabis Wiki. They will not be on the Green Room. We are putting them on Cannabis Wiki website. So you can go to www.cannabis.wiki to find all conferences, expos, galas, awards, crawls.
And all.
The number you can reach us at is 833-226-9454. Extension
710.
You got that. Or you can hit us at sponsor@cannabis.wiki. All right?
Yeah.
So-
All right.
I'm
Yeah,
ready.
let's get into it. I'm excited. This guy's a good one.
So do I.
Not that not all of our guests are good ones, but I bore easy.
Well, I'm happy because finally, we're touching on everybody in the industry, especially these people with companies and streams and blah, blah, blah. But we actually have a doctor in the house. I got some questions.
I thought you were a doctor, Lester.
Dr. Lester. So, guys, keep it locked. We'll be right back with Dr. Mike Hart. Do you want to know how cannabis can help with chronic pain? From MS to surgery rehab or arthritis? Or how cannabis can help with some mental health illnesses like depression, anxiety, insecurity? Maybe you just want to know about cannabis itself. Then Cannabis Wiki is a cannabis website that teaches you, guides you, and will provide you the latest cannabis news, showcasing many shows about cooking with cannabis, or an up-close look sitting down with cannabis industry professionals. If you're looking to broaden your cannabis knowledge, please visit cannabis.wiki to learn more. Welcome back to the Green Room, everybody. We are here with the North American Cannabis Flower, our 2019 Cannabis Social Influencer of the Year.
Getting old, Lester. It's almost 2020.
Hey, listen, I'm going to drag it
Milk
right
that
right to the last day, lady.
I'll call you at 11:59. Can you just say it one more time?
Hey, listen, my vote's in already.
Aw.
Right? My vote
There's
is
new
in.
words, though. There's all kinds of new stuff. Maybe I'll win that.
Well, you let me know what you want, and I'm voting.
Yeah,
Right?
better.
So without ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Mike Hart. What's happening, sir?
Thank you so much for having me on the show, brother. Really appreciate it. Been looking forward to it for a while.
Oh, man. We are...
I asked him first.
Yeah. Well, the acceptance is much better when you ask than when I ask.
I don't get a lot of no's.
No?
Sometimes an eye roll, but not a no.
I got a couple no's for you.
Well, except for you.
She doesn't like the fact that I use the word docket.
Oh, yeah, docket.
She hates
Oh, yeah. Do doctors say docket?
I
They don't have dockets. That's for lawyers and judges. Anyhow, let's talk to Dr. Mike Hart. Do we have to call you doctor? When you become a doctor, does the Mr. fall off?
Usually people don't call me Mister. I would say most people just call me Mike.
Mike.
That's how I usually kind of brand myself, Mike. My website's Mike Hart MD. So
Good.
I didn't know if that was rude. So then do you skip doctor altogether and go
No.
right to Mike? And he's like,
No, it allows, it's kind of welcoming.
yeah,
Call
sure.
somebody by their first name.
I like being called by my first name. Just don't call me Michael.
oh, yeah, that's me
Dig
and
it.
Jacqueline.
Dig
Uh-oh,
it.
am I in
Not
trouble?
a problem.
Just call me Mike.
All right. I like it.
Mike.
So, I have a doctor in the house.
Mike is in the green room.
I'm stoked. So, yeah, we were mentioning earlier that you were on the Joe Rogan show. So, what was that like?
That was an awesome experience. I've been following Joe for a long time, probably close to about a decade. He's been following me for about 5 or 6 years. So, we have, the cannabis in common, obviously.
Big advocate he is.
But also too, he's a big advocate for mixed martial arts, for, good nutrition, just for living a really healthy lifestyle.
Right.
So, unfortunately we didn't get to chat, too much about that on the show. We mostly just focused on the topic of cannabis because I was debating another gentleman, Alex Brenson.
That was the other guy with the brown hair, looked a little.
Yeah. I say the word gentleman loosely with that one.
I'll say with the brown hair loosely.
Well,
I don't know.
The only thing I didn't read the reviews, and I might go back and read some of the reviews.
The comments.
Yeah. Because I watched the whole video. I thought it was fantastic. You made Canada proud.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Tell us, how did you get into cannabis? What's your before you became a doctor? Were you using cannabis? Were you?
So I mean,
cannabis?
like most people, I have experimented with cannabis, prior to becoming a medical doctor. But turning back to the question, why did I get into to cannabis and yeah, that definitely.
How'd you end up there?
So, I started prescribing cannabis just because I knew that there were so many patients out there that were using a lot of drugs, particularly opiates, benzodiazepines. So we're talking things like, Oxycontin, fentanyl to treat pain. And then we're talking things like Ativan, Xanax,
That's my story.
To treat, to treat insomnia,
Wellbutrin,
anxiety.
Cipralex, Seroquel, Ativan, using and abusing for 9 years.
Yeah, so those medications in particular were the ones that I wanted to get a lot of people off. And so far, we've been really successful. Not just myself, there's, clinicians all over the world getting patients off of opiates and benzodiazepines with medical cannabis. We do have some pretty solid scientific evidence. We have a lot of, really solid, anecdotal evidence I'm sure that we'll talk about today, for getting patients off of those medications. So, that was really the big, reason why I really want to get into cannabis, just because I want to give people, the the medication that I would use at night, and if I was going to go to sleep at night, like I wouldn't want a doctor to say to me, hey, you need to, fail on Zopiclone first before you can try, cannabis. And I don't think that's a really good approach.
Is Zopiclone the little blue one that tastes really bad?
That is exactly the one.
Okay, those were my best friends for a
Dr.
lot of years.
Jackie.
Wow.
And it even gives you it gives you that metal taste.
Yes.
Even the next day.
Stains your tongue too.
Even if you're like drinking water, you'll
it's a gross one. It's got a gross. I used to have a game. I would cut it in half and see how much I could fight it.
Right.
Like see how long I could go. I would time.
Oh, no shit.
And then take the other and then do it. Like it was ridiculous. That's
bad side effects. Bad side effects.
Well, all of it's bad side effects for me. I'm kidney and liver failure. I have gallbladder removal. All bad side effects. Cannabis. I'm 2 years pharma-free. Thanks to cannabis.
Awesome. That's good news. Yeah. Hopefully things are going well.
Yeah,
seems like
they're good. They are good.
Yeah.
I'm here at the green room. Woohoo!
And I don't know if I answered your
sorry.
question,
Yes, about
Jackie.
you.
So,
How did you get into cannabis yourself, personally?
yeah. So, what do I use it for now? Like personally, I use a little bit of cannabis at sleep at night to go to sleep. I find it to be excellent as a sleep aid. That's the primary medical use I use it for. I don't have any chronic pain or too many other real conditions to associate with. But for sleep, it's absolutely my absolute go-to.
So that's like recovery for all the work that's
smoke?
being done for the day.
Do you smoke cannabis? Weed?
Mostly I vape and mostly I inject. That's the way
so let's go right in. You vape. What do you think of this vaping crisis we're having right now?
Let's get into
in
it.
there.
So,
for sure.
Dr. Mike.
When people are saying that vaping is bad for you, vaping causes popcorn lung, all this type of stuff, all of that has been traced back to vape cartridges that have been purchased from like Chinese websites, not someone who's using like cannabis from a good trusted source, like someone who's growing in their home or buying from like an LP, something like that, and then using a good trusted vaporizer device. Those people are just getting excellent results for the most part from medical cannabis. They're not getting the popcorn lung. They're not gaining any of those, any of the effects that have been portrayed in the media with regards to lung disease. So, that is really, really important point because, I don't want people to think that, smoking is safer than vaping. And again, I'm not harping on smoking. I do feel that, there is a place for smoking cannabis. But at the same time,
just not in the green room today with Dr. Mike Hart.
Hey, those are your rules, not
Carry
my
on.
rules. So it's really important for people to know that all of the vaping scares have been linked to those Chinese cartridges that people have been purchasing online. It's not linked to people using dried cannabis in a trusted vaporizer device. So if you are using a vaporizer, you do find it to be effective, keep using it. You're not going to get sick. Just stay away from shady like black market
Right.
vape cartridges, and just use it from a trusted source, and you'll be fine. So yeah, really good that we touch on that subject today, because
It's
that's
everywhere.
been a big hot topic the last little
Yeah,
while.
for sure. And people need to know, like, everything to do with cannabis is educational on every point.
We're ground zero here. We're learning. We're just starting, right?
Yeah.
So there's going to be these sort of
Yeah.
like, right? Wait till edibles in a few. December 16th, that big rollout comes. So there's going to be all kinds of. What are you expecting with that?
With the edibles, I mean,
Mhm.
I think that like you said, I mean, there may be some isolated incidents where people don't have a good experience overall, but for the most part, I think that edibles should be legal. Absolutely. I think that it's a great way to use the medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, again, I'm not against vaping or smoking, but some people don't like to do that. And if that's you, I completely understand that. You want to use it from, and also too, we should talk a little bit too about the advantages of vaping, or of using edible versus say, vaping or smoking. Vaping or smoking is excellent if you have something acute and you want something, treat it right away. But if you need something, treat it for a long period of time. So for patients particularly who have like chronic pain, like if you have a chronic pain condition, that condition's not going to go away all day. So you're going to need something to treat you all day. When you use the edibles, you're going to get a treatment that's going to last in your body for roughly about 6 to 8 hours. Who, depending on who you talk to or which source you cite for the for the half-life, but roughly about 6 to 8 hours altogether. Whereas when you vape or smoke, you only might get about 1 to 3 hours of really good relief, which is not realistic for some people who are working or just busy, have a lot of things to do in the day. If that's you, obviously using an edible is going to be a lot more effective and a lot more convenient for you, because you're not going to have to remedicate every hour or every couple hours.
Now, is that something that you also do for your patients? The method of how they go about taking their cannabis?
Yeah, for sure. So, the way things work at my clinic, Readytogo clinic in London, we see the patients and we assess them. We determine whether or not, they are a good candidate for medical cannabis. And then once we've, assessed them, I will outline something. And then in addition to that, I have another cannabis educator. And then they will go through what I've outlined and show them even how to order their product. We'll guide them through the
Who's
whole
the boss?
process
You or
online.
them?
Well, we're
You're-
both.
Are you the same?
We're both the boss. We want.
Are you both doctors?
Well, we want the cannabis educator is not a doctor, but when
Okay.
you're talking about the boss, I mean, I think the patient's also the boss too, right? Because it's their
Ooh.
body.
For sure.
So we're making a collective decision together, right? And with regards to cannabis, I mean, cannabis is a very personalized medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you have a ton of knowledge on cannabis, and like we said, like I'm learning a lot, but I'm still learning, and I'm looking forward to learning more about it. But even with the education that I do have,
Such an individualized experience,
Yes.
right?
Well,
Self-
you've traveled to get a lot of this in education that you have.
Yeah. I've traveled quite a bit. I spoke in Barbados earlier this year, and like we talked about, I was down in California chatting with Joe Rogan earlier, and then been all over Canada as well. So I'm still gaining, quite a bit of knowledge, but at the same time too, I still learn from my patients, and I still say to my patients, like, when I'm giving you something, like, it's really only a guide. And, the biggest thing, if you want to have a good experience with cannabis, what you need to do is you need to be someone who's self-aware. You shouldn't really be asking, your doctor, your friends, other people, how should I be feeling when I take this strain? You should know how you're feeling when you take that strain, and you should document that. And then, if someone comes back to me and they say, I tried what you said, and, I got
high as fuck.
maybe.
Anywho.
And I got like mixed results with it.
Mixed results.
That's a nice way to put it. But then say, they tried their method and they did better. Then I'll say to them, well, like, you're doing better, using the method that you're using. You've discovered this. Like, you've kind of become your own doctor in a way through having some good self-awareness.
Right.
And those are the patients who do the best with medical cannabis, the ones who are willing to experiment. I'm not saying that they're not willing to listen to their doctor, to other people too. They are. But, you do have to have that component of self-awareness.
Be your own best advocate. Know what's working for you.
And if you don't, you're going to be always like asking other people, how should I be feeling? Is this strain going to help me? Should I add this? Should I add that? And it's just going to kind of create more confusion. So you want to be more certain of yourself. And the only way to do that is by experimenting with different cannabis strains and cannabinoids, and then also by reflecting on your experience afterwards.
So now here,
I reflect a lot when I'm high. How'd I end up here?
Reflection's important.
Now, I'm
Lester?
into and I'm aware about mental health awareness, and it's something I'm becoming very passionate about. Specifically,
since he has me as his co-host. How do I kid glove this day?
Right? No, but there's topics as insecurity, depression, anxiety. People with these mental disorders, how, like, it's got to be hard for them, because a person with insecurity, they don't really express themselves. They express what they feel the situation needs. So how would somebody like that coming into your office be able to express themselves? Because it seems like as long as they relay back to you what's going on is the best way you can serve them. But if somebody's holding insecurity,
when I was deep in depression, I would have never gone into his office and
how
say, "Can you help me here?
It makes your job that much harder."
I'm abusing this and that.
Yeah. So basically, I think what you're getting at a little bit is that the people who have these sort of insecurities, these issues with mental health, they're not really willing to speak about them, or they're not really willing even to accept them.
Right.
Seems what it is.
Yep.
Yeah. So the first step after acceptance is growth. So you have to be willing to accept where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say to people too, if you're able to laugh at your former self, that's a very big indicator of growth. If you can laugh at yourself and say, oh man, I was an idiot then, like I was making all the wrong
I have grown so much this year. What a grower.
And like, you laugh at yourself. It feels good. You're literally letting go. You're letting go of the past. You're moving on,
That's medicine.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
quoting this and tagging him in all kinds of like the Mean Girl stuff that we were talking about earlier on Twitter and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can just tag, you gotta let go and you'll grow. Just let this.
That's a good slogan.
And I'll tag Dr. Mike Hart.
Right?
No, it's Mike Hart, right? Isn't it? What are you on Twitter?
I'm Dr. Mike Hart on Twitter. My website is mikehartmd.com.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the slogan.
Yeah.
That's good.
Lester's now going to be Dr. Lester Wiki.
Well, I love the education, and when we get people like Mike coming in, professionals,
to have a professional instead of just my
well, yeah, it's not just
bonehead.
A professional. You're not. I find that you have passion for what you're doing.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I'm a cannabis user myself. I want to prescribe medicines to other people that I would use myself, or that I would prescribe to a family member or someone close to me. that's the kind of type of medicines that I want to use. I want to use medicines, that truly work. And I feel that cannabis is an incredible medicine that works, extremely effectively. And I don't want to breach off too much of the subject on cannabis, but at the same time too, I'm a big believer in hormone replacement therapy, both for men and women.
Oh.
I feel that can be, a big game changer.
I have no hormones.
For people's health.
None, zero.
I've heard you touch on that.
Yeah, particularly for
Testosterone.
And for PTSD as well, it can be testosterone replacement therapy.
For women too?
Yeah. Some women.
I had a full hysterectomy, so I'm not on any sort of replacement either.
No, but some women do very, very well with a small amount of testosterone. A lot of women don't realize that their sex drive does come from testosterone. And I do sometimes.
I just thought it was up here.
It piqued my whole interest
Crazy.
once I seen that you were talking about this before. I was just like, okay, testosterone. I've never at all heard about it.
Maybe I need. No, I don't need any more now. I got stuff to do. I got jobs and kids and pets, and he's good. He's good where he is.
Oh man! No. Talk more about this because
Sure.
I find it's huge.
Sure. Okay. Well, thanks so much for mailing to discuss this. I wasn't sure.
You can talk whatever you want.
A cannabis podcast. Well, thank you.
No,
we're an everything podcast within the space.
You might regret saying that in a minute.
No, we want to give people the space to talk.
Sure. Okay.
Right?
Well, thank you so much. So some other treatments, that I use at my clinic that I'd like to discuss it, have been very effective for people with mental health, considering that's what we're talking about.
Totally.
Is I have used ketamine recently.
Now, what's that?
So ketamine is an interesting drug because it often gets grouped into psychedelics, say
like
with
ayahuasca and stuff. No,
it gets grouped into those medicines, but it actually is not one of those medicines. So those medicines are psychedelic,
right?
So LSD, ayahuasca,
Mushrooms?
psilocybin, right? Psilocybin is magic mushroom. So those are psychedelic medicines, whereas ketamine is an anesthetic. So ketamine is, it's being used all over, Ontario probably right now, putting people to sleep in the ORs. But if the way I use it is I use it in an oral form in a capsule, and I give it to my patients. And we actually have been published in a journal recently because some of my patients did so well on it. So, sometimes cannabis, for some people, it's not quite strong enough. Or for certain periods of time, they do need another medicine.
Is ketamine a plant-based med? What is it?
It's not a plant-based medicine.
Is it?
So it's an anesthetic. It's something that's made in the lab. So it's not a natural plant-based medicine. And if you have an aversion to anything that's natural or plant-based, I understand that, and I respect that. But some people have found it to be, incredibly effective. Just for kind of basically what a lot of people have reported to me is that it makes them almost feel like love again. A lot of people get so bitter, so angry. They have PTSD.
We should give it out free on Twitter.
Yeah. There are a lot of angry people on Twitter.
Bad tweet. Here's some ketamine. I'll slide that into your DM. You just lick it.
I love it.
Maybe there's an app for ketamine on Twitter.
If it's needed, maybe.
Okay,
right?
go on, because this is good. It's needed.
Twitter is definitely the angriest
Angry
social media.
people.
100%. But yeah, a lot of people who've taken the ketamine, it's particularly for PTSD, like a lot of guys have and girls have a lot of anger issues, like they can't actually like feel love, even if other people are nice to them, they can't like feel that energy and like reciprocate that energy.
I think my kid needs ketamine.
He's
He's 21.
Maybe.
Even, certain people like, if they look at a dog, you can just see that like they'll smile, they'll pick it up, and they'll start to love it and play with it.
Right.
Whereas like other people, will sort of look at that person, look at that situation, they almost just like can't relate because like they're just not feeling any love in their life, So sometimes, I find that ketamine can be effective for those types of people, those types of situations, sort of like getting rid of past anger, past resentment, and just giving you a little bit of boost.
What's the dose roughage? What is is it a microdose? Is it what is it?
The dose that I use and that we use in the studies was 75 milligrams 3 times a week.
75 milligrams, 3
Okay.
times a week.
Yeah.
What does it do? Does it put you to sleep? Is it an instant onset? What happens?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. So it's wouldn't say it's an instant onset, but within about 15 to 20 minutes, you'll start to if you take it on an empty stomach, you'll definitely start to feel very disoriented, particularly the first time you take it.
Mhm.
So when you do take it, you always have to make sure that you have nothing to do for the next couple hours type of thing.
Okay, couple days.
You're just gonna be lying on the couch.
Okay.
And then after about an hour or so, that feeling starts to dissipate, and then 2 or 3 hours later, you're basically completely back to normal. Yeah.
Like no side effect. Are you drowsy? Are you dry? Do you feel like you have a hangover?
You may be a little bit more drowsy for the first few hours after, but after that, it generally goes away. Yeah.
So 3 times a week, how long? Do you do it for 1 week and then you're cured? Or do you have to do it all the time? Do you have to live on the stuff? Like what happens?
Regimen.
Yeah. So some people do find that, they'll do it for like a month, a week, and they're like, I'm good. Because some people feel that like, it's almost like they forgot what it feels like to feel good again.
Oh God, I want to try it, but I'm pharma free.
And then and then once they feel good again, they feel like, what, I don't really need that anymore. And I think that's relates to a lot with like the psychedelics, like we were talking about, particularly.
I love mushrooms.
If you do like a heroic dose of mushrooms, you're like,
heroic? What is that?
So
yeah, that's
I'm
long.
quite the hero.
That's long weekend.
What's a heroic dose?
So this is something that a guy, Dr. Terrence McKenna, popularized. He's deceased, unfortunately, but his brother.
Was it a heroic dose?
It wasn't.
No,
It wasn't.
okay.
It was from something completely different.
Okay.
But his brother Dennis is still alive and well, and he's been on Rogan a few times. So if you want to, learn from someone way more experienced than me, go find those podcasts and listen to them. But he defined a heroic dose as something beyond 5 grams.
Oh,
So
okay.
he believes that once you go past 5 grams, that's when you can, break through to the other side. Right. So, this is something that's been, discussed in amongst, healthcare professionals before. And
Have you done it?
No, I haven't done that before. But it's something that, a lot of people, I think have a lot of interest in, but at the same time too, you do have to be careful because, like cannabis, there are some people who use high THC cannabis and have a poor experience, like we were talking about with edibles.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, the same thing can happen to someone using, psilocybin.
Like a green out experience, or just you freak right out and it's not good?
Well, I mean, the worst thing that could happen is they have some type of psychotic break, or they go into psychosis. So that's why I'm a little bit careful about touching on the subjects, just because I have no control over that, and I
Right.
it's not something that I can administer to my patients because
Right.
it's not an approved drug in Canada.
Yet.
Whereas the other drugs we're talking about, cannabis obviously has been.
And is ketamine approved drug?
Yeah,
It's a legal approved. I just think of ketamine and I get scared. I'm like, isn't that ayahuasca or no? I don't know why.
Yeah,
I thought it was that.
it's because it can give you the same or similar benefits to some of the other psychedelic drugs, but it's not a psychedelic drug.
And you just prescribe it.
I prescribe it, yeah, for patients. So we get it compounded from a pharmacist, and it's given that way.
So what's the duration?
So again, I've only been doing this now for roughly about a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had some patients that have needed it just for 2 to 4 weeks, and I have some patients that are still on it, and they may need it for a few more years. They may need
So
it for
the
rest of their life.
euphoric feeling from taking it, how long does that last? So once the person takes their dosage and they get this uplifting feeling, how long does that last with them?
So I should say it's not quite as
Euphoric.
Yeah, it would be hard to describe. I wouldn't say it is euphoric as you're more just like completely dissociated, but that dissociation eliminates any type of issue that you're kind of thinking about.
Okay.
So you're not going to be thinking about anything. And then also too,
You're not thinking about anything, but like, are you aware or no? You're unaware. It puts you to sleep. Like what? I'm nervous now.
So I mean, have you ever had general anesthetic before?
Yeah, I just had fentanyl on Tuesday for a colonoscopy. Should I have had ketamine instead?
Well, you'd have to talk to them about that. But with regards to the ketamine, I mean, and come back to questions. So like, it's kind of hard to describe, the feeling that you would get, but I would say that it's maybe slightly more dissociative than I would say like euphoric, but for sure afterwards it can just lift depression.
Oh, okay.
You may find yourself like doing things that you weren't doing before. You may find yourself appreciating things that you weren't appreciating before, or being more grateful for things that you weren't being more
takes
grateful
away
for.
your own self bridges roadblocks that you put for yourself.
Yeah.
So like you're saying the past stuff, the heavy stuff that has turned these people sort of angry or hardened them. It softens them.
Yeah, and I mean, the big thing we always hear about like with psychedelic is ego dissolution, and
Right.
It has been shown in some studies that the people who experience the most ego dissolution experience the most benefit. And
I love my mushrooms and even like my cannabis. I'm an empathetic, kind person now, and I was not.
Yeah,
I wasn't 2 years ago. I was a bitch.
Well, I didn't know you then, but I'm glad I didn't know you then.
I was a bitch. And I am not at all.
No, you're good vibes. I like it.
Yeah, so I do feel that those medicines, ketamine is one medicine, but the other, psychedelic medicines, I'm excited for those to become available for people. There was an article that was put out, I think just 2 or 3 days ago, that stated that the FDA is trying to fast track psilocybin for the treatment of depression.
I hope
because they believe that that there's so much benefit to it. And coming back to the subject of mental health, I think that there almost is like a little bit of like a mental health crisis going on. I feel that very few people feel certainty in their life. Like very few people have stillness and quiet. Yeah, social media is definitely a big
devil.
thing. I think what it is that it's the thing that it does is that you're always comparing yourself to someone else, and you're comparing yourself to
the highlights of people's lives,
and that's
that are edited and filtered, and
and that's exactly what it is, and that's gonna make yourself feel really poor. Like the only person you should compare yourself to is who you were yesterday.
Right.
Yeah. So you just want to try and get a little bit better every day, and people should know too that like whether you had a very very significant event that happened, or whether you had just some like small incremental improvement, like you're still gonna get that benefit. You're still gonna get that like serotonin boost, that dopamine boost, and everything is relative. So if you're working at a job and you just got a promotion, and it's only a small promotion, like you're gonna feel just as much benefit in your brain as someone who is just bought like another company. It's all relative. And you shouldn't compare yourself to anyone else. You should just compare yourself who you were yesterday. That's it.
Yeah,
that's a big.
I just finished my 21-day meditation in Deepak Chopra.
Nice.
I have no ego.
Oh shit.
I don't.
That's pretty impressive.
I'm like, I don't care how, whatever. Say what you want, do what you want. I'm
my
happy.
open book.
I'm happy. Yeah, I got no secrets. My closet's wide open. All those skeletons are dancing around. I got nothing. I'm good.
So here's a big
Mushrooms.
question. Same thing. Like, and you've faced big questions many times. Is cannabis the 1.0, the 2.0? Is it a path?
Is it a
I think we're making it the cure-all to end all, the be all. Like, are we making a bigger deal? Like, is there other things that, like mental health? Should you be in talk therapy? Should you be in whatever? And we're just prescribing cannabis across the board.
Okay, yeah.
Patching it up.
Real good. I think I know exactly what you're asking, and I can answer this. So I think that cannabis should be more of like a gateway to a healthier overall lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be, just that, like, here's your cannabis and you're good to go. This is going to fix everything. That's not realistic. But, if you have pain and, you can't run, you can't walk, you can't work out because you're in pain, and then you use cannabis and you have less pain. So what are you going to do with that? Are you going to, improve your lifestyle by, incorporating walking into your routine, by changing your lifestyle and improving your overall fitness performance? Or are you just going to say, hey, cannabis is great because it treats my pain? I think what you should be, trying to do is that you use the cannabis to make your lifestyle better. That allows you to do the things that you can't do. And, if you're someone who's, really nervous and you have, a difficult time going into malls or going into stores, like things like that.
That's my thing.
Like, use cannabis to do that. And then when you do that, that's going to improve your life, right?
And today's Black Friday. Shop.
I did cash in on a couple Amazon deals.
There you go.
We're all focused here. I love it.
Keep going, Dr. Mike.
Hey. Well, the thing I got on Amazon was the ketones to keep me focused. So.
See that? I love it. I love how everything rolls back into play, man.
Are there other doctors doing what you do locally, like in our area or in Southern Ontario? Like, are you? Because I know. So I have friends. I'm with the compounding farms, hybrid farms in Ottawa. They're special at what they're doing, and they're very into plant-based meds, and they're doing all this cool stuff. You're doing this here in London, and are there other doctors like what you're doing? Are they prescribing ketamine?
Yeah, like you need to have your
Are
own
they-
community.
Are they
many
public about their
Oh.
cannabis, being a proponent of cannabis? Are they public about it, or an advocate?
I can't speak for everyone, but I'm probably, I guess,
You're the only person I listen to.
I like that.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm just kidding. There's lots of other, really, really good cannabis doctors in
okay, I'll
Canada
follow them.
and online.
Sorry.
But, I think that, the big thing with cannabis is, again, just what we were talking about, is that we really need to focus cannabis on improving the lifestyle. And
Not just a Band-Aid. It's not just, we have cannabis now. We're good.
Yeah. And I
it's
think
opening
that,
up many more platforms.
and I think and I believe that actually that cannabis is the reason why so many people are interested in psilocybin these days, because I think that a lot of people had, a huge barrier to accept cannabis as a medicine. Right. And then you can only imagine, the barrier those people had to accept psilocybin as a medicine, right? It's even further. So, I think the fact that people have accepted cannabis, and the fact that people have done so well with it, because if people didn't do well with cannabis, we wouldn't be talking about psilocybin today. We wouldn't be talking about ketamine. We wouldn't be talking about other medicines. So I think that, cannabis has really done the whole medical community a service, because it's opened people's minds up to other types of treatments. And because of that, I think that you're going to see a big shift in how we treat mental health. I think that a lot of the traditional medications like the SSRIs, the SNRIs, things like that. I mean, I'm not saying that, maybe they don't have their place and that people won't benefit from them and that they won't be used in the future. But I do feel that there's going to be a major, major shift. And that people are starting to wake up like big time. And the thing is too, is that the world's moving faster than it was a long time ago. In the 90s and stuff, like people didn't have the internet. They didn't share information like they do now. Now, like people are sharing information like crazy. And the other thing too, like we said, like people are suffering. People who are suffering are not going to wait for, an FDA drug to be approved to treat their depression, because they know
I microdose 8 days on, 4 days off.
This is like, for me, this is what makes you special. The fact that we can sit here and jam like this with you. I find you very
approachable. And people, I tweet him or people tweet him and he answers. And sorry, did I cut you off? You're like this, and then you're like,
you never cut me off, man. When you chime in, it's needed to chime in, but because I'll always get my facts in.
All right, get
I'm
your
not
facts.
I'm not going to stop.
He's very approachable, and people can
not gonna
ask him
stop.
things and not be embarrassed and uncomfortable. And I do the little flirty things
Informative,
because of my own
creative.
uncomfortableness within plant-based. Like I'm so new to it, and I have anxiety and depression, and I've abused pharmaceuticals. And when you tell me, well, I'm listening to you talk about ketamine and I'm falling in love with the ketamine experience, and that's like, I'm a very bad gambler. I'm really good at it. And so it's the same feeling, the same sensation. I'm listening to him talk about ketamine and I'm going ding, 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 like the whole
same
time.
Same thing with the testosterone.
So that's why I'm like, when I asked about plant-based, is this plant? And he said, it's not, it's pharmaceutical, because I'm right now, for me, it's like cold turkey. I know not all pharmaceuticals are bad, and big pharma is not all terrible, and we need it for certain things. But I'm so, when that, like the 12 steps, you gotta cut it all off. You can't even have a smidge.
Right.
So that's where I'm at right now. So when they gave me fentanyl on Monday or Tuesday, whatever day, I was freaking the 2 days before. And when I signed the papers 6 weeks before, and then the 2 days before, I'm like, I'm pharma free. I'm going to be addicted to fentanyl. Like, I was so worried
about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good subject sort of to like touch on in some ways, a little bit with like the pharma, but also too, even just with like sobriety.
Always chasing a high,
like,
I have a hard time with sobriety.
Well, I don't necessarily think that, being sober all the time is the healthiest thing for everybody. Like if you had
takeaway from today.
if you had a really, really bad past addiction to something, like someone someone like Eminem or like Russell Brand, like it works for those guys. They had some past addictions and they got off everything and now they don't use anything and it works for them. But that doesn't work for everybody.
Right.
Some people do need a break. And I think that, when you're using cannabis and using THC, that dissociative effect, that gives you a little bit of a break. It gives you a break from reality. It gives you a break from your life. It allows you to reflect. It allows you to reassess things. And, it gives you sort of like a moment like we were talking about earlier, like when I was saying some people just need the ketamine for a couple weeks because they just need to know that they can feel that.
Right.
And I feel that that's what the THC does. And the other thing is that you're looking forward to it, because, hope makes you happy and hope allows you to do things, like you'll do something if you have hope. And, some people, know that, when they're in the middle of their day, they know that, well, you know what, at least at the end of the day, I'm going to be able to go home. I'm going to be able to use my cannabis. I'm going to be able to chill and everything's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty therapeutic in and of itself right there. Right. So, I'm not really, I don't agree with the notion that like, sobriety is the ultimate end all and be all for everybody. It does seem to be, pretty effective for some people that have had some really bad past addictions in the past. And for some people, maybe they do need to stay away from everything if it works for them. But I don't think that it works for everybody. And, like, coming back to like mental health and how to treat it, I think that, if we use some of these other medicines, some of these other psychedelics, which obviously, is not going to create a sober state, that it can drastically improve overall mental health.
Right.
So, just because, someone is sober all the time, doesn't necessarily mean they have strong mental health.
Right.
And, just because someone chooses not to be sober, sometimes doesn't necessarily mean that they have poor mental health. It's the people who are blindly using, medicines or recreational drugs that really get themselves into trouble because they're not using it with any intention. But like if you're a cannabis user and you're saying, okay, like I have really bad pain, so I want to treat my pain, and then you treat your pain and then, you feel happier, you can do whatever, even if it's not a big workout, even if it just allows you to do more work around the house or to play with your daughter or whatever it is, then, that's fantastic.
You have kids?
I don't.
Okay, go on.
No kids, no wife, no engagement, no nothing.
Okay. Well, you couldn't be this damn smart and have all this information with the rest of all that.
Sorry to interrupt.
He's an encyclopedia of information. Like I just love how deep you've gone into it. Like I said, you represented Canada strong on the Joe Rogan show.
Well, thank you so much.
And within the industry, I mean, we should quickly touch base on the Athletes for Care, where I met you. What do you have going on with them? What do you?
Actually, you did meet me one other time. You don't remember that?
I did.
Jeez.
Where did I meet you the other time? Where did I meet you the other
I think I
time?
met you at the Strain Print party in April. Just,
The barbecue?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I guess it wasn't very memorable then.
Did I talk to you?
Oh man.
Did I talk to you?
I think
Were
we
we
chat
outside?
just for one brief moment
Oh,
outside.
okay.
Yeah.
One brief
Don't
moment.
worry.
One brief
time.
moment.
It may have
I was
been
high.
it may have been a minute of insecurity.
No, you know what? There was a major hater there, and
See?
I have had. I'm just hijacking this show for a second.
That's
I
fine.
had some stalking issues, and there was some stuff going on, and this was sort of Jess is like, oh, it's gonna be a fun barbecue. Jess from Streamrit. So I'm like, oh, it'll be cool. I'll go. Lots of people that I know are going. And the second I got there, somebody who's caused a lot of drama in the industry was there and dealing with her own mental health issues. I'm sure this is what this is, and I'm saying this out of kindness and all due respect, lady. Please don't crawl back into my.
Always.
I was really. That was a tough. That was a really tough event for
Situation
me.
to work in.
Very, but I met like the people from CFAM, and I met like it was a great connection. It was a great thing to do.
So
but
how do you do it? How do you work with your insecurity? Because you are a social influencer, so you have to be around people all the time. But then again,
I don't
you
know.
know what?
I'm thinking about ketamine right now.
I might just save it for another show. That's a whole
Yeah, we
different.
don't need to, you and I can talk about how I do it because everyone's like, how
Yeah.
do you speak at all these things?
Totally.
Sometimes it's 60 people, sometimes it's 600 people,
Yeah.
and I have I have debilitating anxiety and depression. Like I stay in the house 3 or 4 months at a time. Like I have my groceries delivered, I have my haircut, I have a gym at my home. Like I have everything at home.
Really?
I don't have, and I do what I do. There's 2 million followers, and I'm out doing. It's like I say, it's all costumes. It's an act. I can be.
And that's my point about mental health and insecurity,
Cannabis
depression, and all this. I'm finding that there's way more people that have mental illness of this type, insecurity, depression, anxiety, than we actually really think. And my problem with it is that it really jails the people where they're held inside themselves. They've already associated themselves with a society that really they probably don't want to be around.
All my friends drink and do pharmaceuticals.
I think that a lot of people just kind of get caught up in this sort of like corporate world. They often are working jobs that they don't want to work. They're wearing clothes to work that are uncomfortable.
They're married to people they don't want to be married to.
I would never want to wear a
Their
suit
kids suck.
to work, every day. Some people, they definitely get, caught up with like the wrong person.
Do you wear scrubs?
No, I just.
Do you wear lab coat?
No,
Come on, give me an image here, man.
Give me an image.
Give me something. I'm on my ketamine.
Lululemon.
Oh, that's okay. That's good. I like that.
Oh man.
I like Lululemon.
Yeah. Okay.
I got my image
Keep
going.
it going. Keep it going.
You just
Keep it going.
I'm gonna have a minute.
I love
you
it.
guys
I
chat.
kind of lost track here, actually.
I forgot what we were talking about. But
That's
these
all
are
right
delicious
because we got
mints.
time. We could keep talking. We'll
Do you
get
want a
back.
mint? You don't need one.
I'm good for the mint.
like-
I'm good for the mint. Yeah.
Do you have sugar? Do you eat sugars? or
No, I just got my my
Like,
water here, and then in this container
what is
here, I
that?
have coffee with a little bit of MCT oil powder, and then oftentimes too, actually, I do use some non-psychedelic mushrooms. So I'm a big fan of.
I didn't even know there was.
Yeah, there's
so,
mushroom teas and stuff that aren't psychedelic.
yeah,
Okay.
like lion's mane is probably my favorite, but chaga, reishi, all good. Turkey tail, they're all
Sure.
good products too.
Do you sell that stuff at your clinic?
I don't. You guys may or may not have heard of a guy, Paul Stamets. He's been on Rogan a couple times too. Actually, one was very, very recently, a couple weeks ago. And he's kind of, I guess, the world leading expert on mushrooms. So I sort of go by what he says, and I use Paul's product.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Where do you get them?
Amazon.
Amazon.
Black
Check that out
Friday.
today, Black Friday.
I gotta check if Stamets' stuff is on sale.
Yeah.
I love
I just
it.
check that. I will. I love mushroom teas and you're saying the lion's mane and stuff. I like that.
Yeah.
Someone mixed it with the psychedelic mushrooms as well. They have
Yeah,
that
so
as well.
that's part of Stamets' thing is he mixes so he'll microdose psilocybin. So his protocol, I think you said 8 and 4. He does 4 and 3, I believe, is what he says. So 4 days on, 100 micrograms, and then 3 days off. And then so what he also uses is he has a stack where he uses niacin. So he believes that the niacin flush enhances the bioavailability of it. Again, like these are things that haven't been confirmed. I'm just sort of so
you don't want me going home and getting some niacin?
No,
He's like, okay, again, this has not been confirmed.
And also too, I mean, niacin is only a B vitamin. So, it flushes it out of your system, but at the same time, it can create a flush. You guys have probably heard of a niacin flush before, and it's totally benign, but it can be very, very uncomfortable for some people.
Like, what do you mean?
They get red.
Oh, okay.
They get red.
I'm menopausal, so red. I'm always red.
Yeah, so, but yeah, coming back to the protocol. So, Paul sort of believes, like, kind of like, how we believe there's a entourage effect with cannabis and the cannabinoids. He also believes that there's an entourage effect with mushrooms. So, the way that he recommends doing it is to use the niacin and then to also use other mushrooms, in particular lion's mane, with the psilocybin. And he believes that that's the best way.
I've been reading that. I just heard that.
So how important is healthy living?
I need to interrupt again. The entourage effect. When I started hearing people say that on Twitter and stuff, I'm like, I need an entourage now. Like, this influencing thing's hard enough. To get the full effect, I'm gonna have to get an entourage. Like, and I kept seeing it like all over Twitter and then on Instagram, and I'm like, what are they talking about? And it's hashtag entourage effect. And and I'd mentioned something like, but have you tried the entourage effect? I'm like, I don't want any of these bitches going anywhere with me. What do you mean? What are we doing? Okay, go on. Now that you have no idea what you were gonna say, or
no,
you should always put little notes that you're gonna say.
There's always something. There's always something interesting to talk about. Like,
my God. I'm not on mushrooms today though. Trust me. Everyone's gonna be like, what is going on?
So
I heard laughter.
Emotions, 7 emotions. I heard you mention something about that. Now, the question I was going to ask before that was, how important is healthy living and healthy eating?
So healthy eating and healthy living, I mean, those are...
Healthy eating, does that mean plant-based to you or no? Are you not a vegan?
So I'm not a vegan. I don't have, anything...
many good things about
anything against vegans. But
they have a lot against you. Go on.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. But I just don't feel that that's the optimal diet for me, and I don't think that it's the optimal diet for most people. But if it works for you, great. But for a lot of people, it's not going to work. I mean, most people who go vegan, like, they go back within like 3 months. I mean,
really?
I think the stats are something like 80 to 90%. Like, very few people can actually.
When he said Lulu, I just
endure
Lulu and vegan go hand in hand.
And then also too, like, people just don't feel as well on it. Like, their iron starts to
tired.
drop. They get low vitamin B12. Sometimes it's harder to get protein. And like, what are you replacing all this stuff with? Like, if you're taking out like your high protein foods, like, what are you replacing it with? Like, if you're
peanut butter, nuts, I don't know, the Beyond Beef burger or whatever that is.
Yeah,
those are
what are they?
high
I don't
protein.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes people replace it with stuff that's even like worse. But I mean, of course, if you're going to McDonald's 3 times a day, and then you watch Game Changers, and you start vegan, like, of course you're gonna.
Well, I'm on my mushrooms.
Better,
I watch
right?
Game Changers.
Like, it's better. It's better to be following some type of diet that has like some nutritional value to it than just not following anything and just eating processed crap all day, right?
Right.
But for the most part, I mean, I think that most people find meat to be important for their overall health. And I mean, like, these guys have to like go to like corners of the world literally to find like this one vegan athlete that like nobody's ever heard of, right?
Oh,
but,
I love it. Yeah.
But it's
Dr.
like,
Hart, give it to them. I get everyone sending me all their vegan athletes. Well, your husband should be doing this, and this man is.
Like, have you ever heard of like LeBron James or Michael Jordan or Wayne Gretzky or Conor McGregor?
Yeah.
Because they're all meat
carnivores.
So I think you'd have to go to like probably athlete 1,000 or 2,000 before you found like the top vegan athlete, like, realistically.
Right.
Oh man.
So
we're not trying to bring the fire to you.
Yeah, and again, I have nothing against vegans. If it works for you, then great. But
that's his professional advice.
For most people, it's definitely not the optimal diet.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not a vegan, are you? Have I asked that before?
No, I'm not a vegan.
I've tried a couple times.
I'm just trying to wrap my hands around, because everybody's like, I love cannabis, personally. And with what's happening now, like, it's fantastic. I'm all about the information. It's like I said, I've been doing it for a long time, but I'm brand new on the information world of cannabis.
He doesn't like the community part of cannabis.
That's not true.
He's like, why? Just because you smoke weed, do I gotta smoke weed with you? Like, why? And he's like,
I'm not big on the community.
no,
part
but he's
too.
like, I don't care. So
People always say to me that like I refuse to be part of the community and things like that. But you know, I just want to you know, hang out with the people that I want to hang out with.
Right.
You know, and I want to, you know, enjoy my life, enjoy the things that I do. So, you know, I hang out with cool people in the industry,
and whether they right,
and I
in
kind of
and
stay
out of the
away from the
industry.
non-cool people.
Right.
No, pretty simple.
Yeah. No.
Oh God,
But
it's hard for me.
It's a hard line to balance there, as
It's like they got to slip and slide into
a lot
my
of
DMs.
wolves in sheep's clothing.
Yes, there's
Right?
a lot of not in the green room.
Not in the green
No,
room.
this is our table.
Right.
Well, everyone is welcome. Once.
You get your chance. You get your chance to prove yourself. Right?
Mike can come back. I called him Mike. I skipped the doctor and the mister.
Yeah, we definitely want you to come back. We got lots more questions to ask.
Yeah.
I'd love to come back.
What's your hope for the future? You hope your mushrooms are next, and
so
stigma?
Coming back to the cannabis though too, like you know, everyone nowadays is big on CBD, which is fantastic. You know, CBD has so many great medicinal
But what
properties.
about that FDA thing that just came out? CBD. We got to be careful. Wait, did you see that? Did you read that?
Well, let me just finish this before we talk about that. So, you know, like I've said before, and like we mentioned earlier, like there's over 100 cannabinoids in cannabis. So, you know, CBD was only like the second one that we discovered, and you know, it's been so powerful already. So, you know, maybe there's other cannabinoids that are even better than CBD. You know, we have evidence that THCV can actually decrease appetite and can lead to weight loss in type 2 diabetics, which is pretty incredible, right? So, you know, a lot of people are struggling, you know, with their weight these days and eating. So, you know, that'd be a huge cannabinoid to come out.
So to cut in, sorry.
Sure.
So how valuable is it to you to have a place like Strain Print?
It's super valuable because, I mean, because again, like I believe in the anecdotal evidence, and I believe that, you know, we need as much data collection as possible. So while I agree that we do need, you know, randomized control trials and things like that, I also believe that we need to match those randomized control trials with other anecdotal evidence that's come out, and, you know, with like the data points that Strain Print has created, for example.
Right.
Because when you combine the two, you know, that's when you get the best. And that's when you learn the most, you know, about yourself, and that's how you become a better clinician. Because, you know, you read about things online, you know, you have conversations like this, you learn.
Am I a clinician?
But then you
Can I be my own clinician?
Yes, you should be your own clinician.
It is.
That's what we're
Am
getting
I
at.
my own clinician?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what we're
I have
getting
a lot
at.
of
Right
things.
here.
But,
Exactly.
but when you become self-aware, then you do become, you know, your own clinician, and you know what's best for your body, and you feel certain about it. And that's the thing that's going to make you feel good about it. You know, when you're sort of like, you know, uncertain about it, you're not sure if this is going to work, you know, that's when you kind of get emotionally unstable, and a lot of bad things happen then. But when you have a lot of certainty in your life, you know, when you know that, like, you know, I know that when I, you know, smoke this strain, I'm going to go to sleep and I'm going to wake up 7 hours later. You know, that's someone who's like, you know, they know they're not thinking about anything else. They don't have any anxiety. They're just thinking, okay, I'm going to use the strain. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to get up. And I'm going to go on with my day.
Right.
You know, it's not like, oh, should I use this? Should I use that? Did my doctor tell me to do this? Did they tell me to do that? You know, they have that certainty there. And that only
certainty,
hope, and
growth.
that only comes with experience, and to be willing to use the medicine yourself. Yeah.
See, now I found it important to have you here because I am myself.
What are you struggling with?
I've looked at doctors as the enemy because of the opioid.
Are you going to share what you're struggling with?
Yeah, that's what I'm struggling with right now. I'm getting it out. I'm getting it out.
Oh, I love this.
Because there's been no responsibility for what has happened. Having you here, actually doing some research and checking you out, and like I said, because you have passion for what you're doing, this is what got you here at the Green Room. You are changing my opinion of how I look at clinical doctors
and
as yourself. not just because of cannabis and what you know about cannabis, but the fact that you have more than one remedy and you're more than willing to adapt new remedies. And I feel, just as a Canadian that should be able to fall down and walk into any hospital, I should feel confident and comfortable that when I do meet a medical practitioner, that I'm in good hands. He's a guy like you.
And choices.
I mean, we're all connected here too, right? And I mean, the same things that my patients struggle with, or whatever else struggles with, I'm gonna struggle with too. You know, and that's why I said those 7 emotions on the Joe Rogan podcast, right? Like, I'm human. I'm going to experience all those emotions. Fear, anger, sadness. Like, those aren't good emotions, but I'm human. Am I going to experience them? Yes.
Right.
So I totally accept that, and then I'm just going to use the best tools available that I don't experience them that much. And that's I think the best approach to it is to just accept it, and then also to do something about it, right?
Yeah, love it.
We need a little bit of pain. We need a little bit of sadness. We need it so we celebrate things, and we're right. We do.
All right.
We do.
You can't know joy without pain.
Yes, exactly. And
so,
I know this from being way down low, like how good things are way up high, and that I strive for that all the time. You're always chasing that good time,
and that's what makes you like nice to other people, like you were saying, like when you
very empathetic and kind, because I get it.
Yeah, it's sort of, it allows you to reflect a little bit, and if you yelled at someone or didn't treat someone as well as you should have that day, and then you use cannabis, sometimes that makes you reflect. And also too, just on that topic, like like guilt is always gets thrown around as like something that's like really bad, but like sometimes guilt's good. Like, if you did something bad, you should feel bad about it.
Guilty, shame.
Like, if you don't, like, you're a psychopath.
You're Dexter.
Right? So
did you like Dexter? Did you watch that?
I didn't watch it. I didn't say I didn't like it. I just said
I didn't say I didn't like it. Oh, we had to quickly go back.
Second invite gone.
No.
You got to watch. Her knife is sharp. That's why she's my partner. Right? She may look good and nice and innocent, but
we have to go back real quick. To Athletes of Care, because I talked about just briefly, and then I said that was where I met you, and then he said that's not where you met me, and so we have to go back to what Athletes for Care care.
Not a problem.
Just quick.
Sure. So,
and what's your involvement with that?
So I'm an ambassador at Athletes for Care, and I'm the lead physician there. So hopefully what we're going to do in the future is take some of these athletes, get them on some cannabis product, and then do a study and see what kind of results we get. So that'd be the ultimate thing that we'd like to do at Athletes for Care, is not just to get the word out there. Anybody can do that. So I do appreciate everything that the Athletes for Care people have done, but at the same time too, what you would want to do ideally is to put something behind that,
right?
Study something behind that says that it's not just the athletes that are talking here. We do have good scientific evidence that that if you do use these cannabis products, it can help with decrease your pain.
Is that why they're doing the white label, the strain print? Like, they're going to have the strain print app, like, so then they have their own data and science and stuff behind it?
Yeah, I mean, that would be the idea behind it. Yeah. And then you would know a little bit more maybe about how cannabis affects pain, how it affects performance anxiety, how it affects sleep. Sleep is a big thing for athletes. I mean, if you don't sleep well, you're not going to recover well, and then if you don't recover well, you're probably not going to play well. So sleep is, and for those guys too, like, just think like we go to bed. I mean, I usually go to bed around 10 o'clock. These guys sometimes
party animal.
These guys,
10 o'clock.
These guys, maybe not on the weekends.
All right.
But, I mean,
he's out. He's in. He's out.
He's in now, right?
Yeah,
he's back in.
He goes out on the weekend.
He's back in.
We're good.
Well, he's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing.
Okay.
I know I can calculately burn both sides of the candle. I can do it.
So you do, okay, back to sleep is so important. You go to bed around 10 o'clock. And so athletes, their
athletes,
schedules and travel.
So what I'm getting at is, like, these guys, some of them, like, like Elias, who was at the Athletes for Care event. I mean, he might not fight till 10 o'clock at night, maybe even later. So, for someone like that, I can't imagine, trying to perform at like a high level, almost at midnight,
Right.
and then like the next, and then trying to go to sleep. I mean, it's got to be really, really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the 4 major sports.
Okay.
Those guys have really crazy travel schedules.
In here.
Right. That's got to be hard as hell.
Yeah. Really, really difficult, so those guys definitely need something to help them sleep.
All right. So where can anybody find you online?
Sure. So they can find me online on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm Dr. Mike Hart. I'm also on LinkedIn, and then my website is mikehartmd.com.
Okay. So what can they expect for you for 2020? Any new tidbits?
2020, I'm definitely going to be talking more about cannabis. I'm going to be talking more about hopefully some other psychedelic. Again, I know we didn't touch on it today, but I'm a big believer in philosophy, particular Stoic philosophy, something I study very, very closely. So that's probably what I'll move into more towards in 2020, and I look forward to whatever else kind of comes my way.
Good. Well, cool. We might as well.
We'll invite him back.
Yeah,
he's coming
2020. You're definitely coming back. I want to touch more on that. That sounds super interesting.
I'll talk less.
420 in 2020.
You heard that from Dr. Mike. You got any last words, my North American cannabis flower?
No, that's it. You can have the last word today. Thank you so much for coming on the Green Room. Thanks a lot for spending time with us.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. It's super appreciate
man.
it.
You've been a fantastic guest, bro. I really appreciate it. Taking our questions and putting up with my North American cannabis flower. All right. So, guys, that's it for Dr. Mike Hart.
What are we, icky, sticky, wiki?
Would you stop and let me do my
Just
thing?
do it.
All right. Guys, where cannabis talk is always fresh and a little bit sticky. Keep it locked, Cannabis Wiki, and we're out.
Bye, guys.